given his lordship had already told me the truth.
Watching for you. Found you.
The calm before the storm is over, and what's coming next might change everything you thought you knew about Outlander. Because Episode 8 is not just another chapter. It feels like the moment where every hidden truth, every broken relationship, and every dangerous decision finally begins to collide. And the most shocking part? Not everyone will walk away from this episode the same person. If they walk away at all, as the story moves forward, the tension surrounding the Battle of King's Mountain is no longer something distant or avoidable. It feels immediate, heavy, and unavoidable. Jaime stands at the center of this storm, and for the first time in a long time, it truly feels like he is walking toward a fate he may not be able to escape. The weight on his shoulders is not just about war, it is about destiny. Everything we have seen so far has been slowly pushing him toward this exact moment. What makes this even more intense is the emotional conflict behind his decision. Jaime is not a man who fights without reason. Every battle he has ever faced had purpose, had meaning. But this time things feel different. There is a quiet fear surrounding his journey, almost like the story itself is warning us that something irreversible is about to happen. And even though preparations are being made, there is a sense that not everything is under control. Claire, on the other hand, understands this danger better than anyone. Her knowledge of history has always been both a gift and a curse. She knows what this battle represents, and more importantly, she knows what it could take away from her. This creates a silent tension between her and Jaime. It is not about disagreement, it is about fear. The kind of fear that cannot be spoken out loud, because saying it would make it real. At the same time, the arrival of unexpected allies begins to shift the balance slightly. But instead of bringing comfort, it raises new questions. Can these alliances really change what is meant to happen? Or are they just delaying the inevitable? The presence of figures like Aaron Whitaker suggests that the story is introducing variables, small changes that could have massive consequences. And in a story like this, even the smallest change can rewrite fate. But here's where things become truly unsettling. The more support Jaime gathers, the more it feels like the story is building him up for something bigger, something dangerous. Because in storytelling, when everything starts to align too perfectly, it often means something is about to go terribly wrong. And that is exactly the feeling Episode 8 creates. Meanwhile, back at the ridge, there is a different kind of tension growing. Life continues, but it does not feel stable. The emotional wounds from previous events, especially Fergus's death, are still fresh. His absence is not just felt, it lingers in every moment, in every conversation that does not happen, in every memory that refuses to fade. Marzali and the children are trying to move forward, but grief is not something that disappears quickly. It changes people, and sometimes it changes the choices they make. This emotional instability adds another layer to the story. Because while a war is being prepared on one side, emotional battles are being fought on the other. And both are equally dangerous. The ridge is no longer just a place of safety. It feels like a place waiting for another tragedy. And then there is the quiet but powerful question that the episode keeps hinting at. Is this battle truly about winning or losing? Or is it about survival? Because for Jaime, this may not be a fight he can simply walk away from. It feels like a turning point, the kind that defines everything that comes after. By the time we reach the midpoint of this episode, one thing becomes clear. The story is no longer setting things up. It is beginning to deliver consequences. And those consequences are going to affect every single character in ways we may not be ready for. While the war slowly moves closer, the real chaos in this episode begins somewhere far more personal, inside William. Because what we are witnessing is not just anger anymore, it is a complete emotional collapse. Everything he believed in, his identity, his relationships, his sense of truth, has been shaken again and again. And now it feels like he has reached a point where he no longer knows who to trust, or even who he really is. What makes William's situation so powerful is how real it feels. He is not reacting like a hero. He is reacting like someone who has been hurt too many times. His connection with Lord John Grey, once built on trust and care, now feels fragile. There is distance, tension, and something unspoken between them. William is not just pushing people away. He is isolating himself, and that makes him vulnerable in ways he doesn't even realize. At the same time, his relationship with Amaranthus becomes even more complicated. The feelings are there, but so is doubt. And doubt in a story like this is dangerous. Because when emotions are unclear, decisions become unpredictable. It starts to feel like William is no longer thinking ahead. He is reacting in the moment, driven by pain rather than logic. And that is exactly the kind of mindset that leads characters into situations they cannot escape from. Then comes the most intense shift, the growing threat surrounding Lord John Grey. There is a strong sense that danger is closing in on him, but not in an obvious way. It feels calculated, quiet, almost inevitable. The tension builds around a single question. Who is really targeting him, and why now? At first, it may seem like this conflict is directly connected to William's anger. The story almost wants us to believe that emotions could lead to something irreversible. But if you look deeper, there are hints that something bigger is happening behind the scenes. The involvement of Ben's side, and the possibility that his men are still searching for William, creates a much wider threat. This is no longer just about personal conflict, it is about control, power, and unfinished business. And this is where the episode becomes truly unpredictable. Because if Lord John Grey becomes a target, then everything changes. He is not just a supporting figure, he is a key connection between multiple storylines. If he is taken, injured, or worse, it would send shockwaves through every character connected to him. Especially William. What makes this even more intense is the possibility of regret. The episode quietly builds toward a moment where William may realize that he pushed away the one person who truly stood by him. And if something happens before he gets the chance to fix that, it would become one of the most tragic turns in the story. Not because of what happened, but because of what could have been prevented. At the same time, the idea of a rescue begins to form beneath the surface. It is not fully clear yet, but the pieces are there. If Lord John Grey is captured or threatened, then someone will have to step in. And the most unexpected part? That responsibility may fall on Jaime, which creates a powerful emotional conflict, because helping him would also mean stepping back into William's life at a moment when everything is already broken between them. This sets up a situation where action and emotion collide. A rescue mission is not just about saving someone, it is about facing truths, repairing damage, and making choices that could either heal or destroy what is left of these relationships. And as all of this unfolds, the episode keeps building one central feeling. Nothing is stable anymore. Every character is standing on uncertain ground. Every decision carries risk. And every moment feels like it could lead to something irreversible. By the end of this section, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. This is not just a story about war or survival. It is a story about consequences. Emotional, personal, and deeply human consequences that are finally catching up with everyone. As everything begins to come together, Episode 8 reaches a point where it no longer feels like a build-up. It feels like the beginning of consequences that cannot be undone. The tension between war, loyalty, and personal choices finally explodes into something much bigger than anyone expected. And at the center of it all stands Jaime. There is a very strong feeling throughout this part of the story that time is running out. Not in an obvious way, but in a quiet, almost invisible way. The kind of feeling that tells you the story is moving toward a moment that has already been written, and no matter what the characters do, they may not be able to stop it. This is what makes Jaime's journey toward the Battle of King's Mountain so heavy. It is not just a battle. It feels like a turning point that has been waiting for him all along. Jaime Fraser has always been a man who fights with purpose. But here, the purpose feels different. It is no longer about choosing a side, it is about facing something inevitable. Even with the presence of allies, even with the possibility of unexpected changes, there is still a deep sense that this battle holds something darker. And that raises the biggest question of all. Can fate actually be changed, or is every step only bringing him closer to it? At the same time, Claire Fraser is forced to watch all of this unfold with the knowledge she carries. Her understanding of history has always given her an advantage. But now, it feels like a burden she cannot escape. Because knowing what might happen does not always mean you can stop it. And that creates one of the most painful emotional conflicts in the entire episode. She is not just afraid of losing Jaime, she is afraid of watching it happen while being unable to change it. But while the battle moves closer on one side, something equally intense begins to take shape on the other. If the threat surrounding Lord John Grey turns real, then the story splits into two powerful directions at once: a war on the battlefield and a desperate attempt to save someone before it is too late. And this is where everything connects. Because if Jaime is pulled into a situation where he must choose between fighting in the battle or helping to rescue Lord John, the decision becomes more than strategic. it becomes deeply personal. It would force him to confront not only danger, but also his relationship with William. And at the same time, William may finally be pushed into a moment where he has to face the truth he has been avoiding. William Ransom is no longer just a character dealing with anger. He is standing at a crossroads. One path leads to isolation, regret, and possibly irreversible mistakes. The other leads to understanding, acceptance, and a chance to rebuild what has been broken. But the problem is, he may not have enough time to choose the right path. And that is what makes this episode truly shocking. It is not just about what happens, it is about when it happens. The timing of every event feels critical. A moment too late, a decision made in anger, or a missed opportunity to speak the truth. Any of these could change everything. As the episode moves toward its final moments, the feeling becomes unavoidable. This is a point of no return. The characters are no longer in control of everything. The story has taken over, and it is pushing them toward outcomes they may not be ready for. Some relationships may begin to heal, while others may break completely. Some battles may be fought and survived, while others may leave scars that never fade. And when it all settles, one thing will become clear. Episode 8 is not just shocking because of what it shows. It is shocking because of what it changes.